All right, guys. Hey, Paul McLean, welcome back to the Monday Morning Mindset podcast. So excited that you join each and every week. And like I say, every week, my desire, my goal, my chief objective is to bring you great value. And so I sit back and think, like, who can I have on? The great news is this: I got some killers in the building the next couple of days, man. And I really count it a blessing to be able to associate with you guys. I feel like there's going to be a lot of good thoughts produced, visions produced to take it to the next level. And so we got two guys. Let me just, before we even get the camera on them, go grab your pen, your piece of paper, your iPad. You're going to want to take notes if you want your business to grow. If you're kind of just happy with average, complacent, mediocrity, then don't. But if you do want to grow, you're going to grow today. So, guys, good to have you on. Joe Turner and Chris Maka, good to have you guys on. You made it work.
Good to be here.
Good wingspan, bro. Some guys I can't reach from that side. I know I ain't got the long arms, so glad that we're able to make that work, bro. Well, hey, man, good to have you guys on. I want to jump right into it, man. Like, you guys have absolutely crushed it. You guys both have phenomenal growing organizations. Tell me about the story real quick. You know, how did you guys get partnered up? You know, give me some background real quick, and I want to jump into, like, you know, some very practical mindset sales stuff.
Yeah, so it's, really simple. Me and Joe, we were cut from the same cloth, so we were at the same door-to-door company. Both had really great legacies there. We were both top 10 rookies. I know Joe, he broke some records for team growth the first year, just really, really good stuff. And then I had shifted over to insurance, and there was a lot of motion this way. You know, obviously Malad's from that company, JP's from that company. A lot of us are all from that realm, and we were kind of just over the door-to-door stuff. And, you know, fast forward a year, and Joe joined us.
I love that. You know, it's almost like if somebody's on here wondering, like, who should I recruit? I would recruit people from that company. I would recruit door to door. And we're seeing more and more of that. People that are like, dude, they're disciplined, they're ambitious, they know how to communicate and be able to kind of persuade a client to go get something that maybe they didn't even ask for. Because when you're knocking on the door, they're not like expecting the phone call or the door knock, right? There you are. And so you got to take them from like not even having an interest to walk them through the process to become a buyer. And so if you take that and you put somebody in a vehicle where there's qualified people saying, I want help, think about how, you know, easier it is for them to transition. Now, sometimes not, sometimes it is, but talk about that, Joe. Like, when you got started in this business, kind of having that background, knocking doors, like, was the transition super smooth? If it wasn't, you know, what it looked like? Kind of unpack that for us.
Yeah, there were a lot of good resources, you know, with these guys when we came in, but from a personal standpoint, it didn't matter what you did on the doors because it was a clean slate. And there's a lot of people who didn't have much success. They come in here, they really kill it. And then there's people who have the success and they have a slower start. And, you know, I had
Why do you think that is, though?
I think there's two reasons. One could be an ego thing. If you're coming in expecting the same results right away that you had already built somewhere else, it's like picking up another sport. You know, you're putting on the helmet and the cleats for the first time. You can't expect to be just as good as you were, you know, playing basketball or, you know, whatever the sport was. So I think it could be ego, which I think we can all fall victim to, you know, sometimes. And then maybe just, you know, not being intentional with your time early on, not taking it as serious as you should be, you know, from the get-go. For myself, it took a little bit of time to get acclimated to it, and I think it was about 2 or 3 full days before I had a deal coming here, and that was after, you know, getting multiple deals a day at the previous industry, no problem. So that was an adjustment, but it was very refreshing because it shows you to fall back on the fundamentals and what, you know, works, and you're relying on your inputs, your faith in God, faith in your inputs, and then ultimately faith in yourself to make it work, you know, in this business or whatever you're doing.
I love that the way you put it, dude. It's kind of like, okay, you're athletic, great, and your specialty is football. Just because you're athletic doesn't mean you're going to pick up basketball and be able to play at the same level. There's still some things that you got to go through, right? And that new sport will maybe show you and identify some things that you're stuck, that were holding you back, that the other sport didn't show, right? And I think a lot of times this business, I always love it because it's so telling of like where you might be stuck in different areas. Like, it'll wash all that to the surface. You know what I mean? Like, if you got an ego, oh, you're going to find out pretty quick. And the question is, like, do you deal with it and let that get you better? Because we all have ego stuff, right? But, like, are you going to just act like it's not there? Because if you act like it's not there, that blind spot will cause you to get sniped in the back of the head, bro. And, like, I'm okay with going down, but I want to go down with, like, face to face. Like, I don't want to die, like, all of a sudden I'm just walking, boom, and then I'm done. Like, that's not how I want to go down, right? So awareness is key, and I think it helps bring that to the surface. Chris, talk about the fundamentals, right? So, like, I think, Turner, you said it great. Like, it helps you fall back on the fundamentals. And maybe for somebody that's on here today, you know, they've had some good weeks. They maybe had some good months, but then they have kind of like this, they get caught in this, like, this lull of just like, it ain't going the way it should be going. And a lot of times you can overthink, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to fix something that isn't broke. And oftentimes it's like, dude, just go back to the blocking, like the fundamentals. Like, where did you start? What really laid the foundation? But talk about that. Like, what are the fundamentals for a producer?
I think one of the biggest pieces in this business in particular is just really disconnecting from the outcomes. We get paid really fast. We get that instant gratification. And I think that's what happens with a lot of producers is they come in with their back against the wall and they are learning this skill set brand new. They're doing the basics. They're putting in the work. They're doing the inputs. They're aligning that activity with the, you know, the results and the identity that they're trying to create in this space. And then they have a big week and deposits hit. All of a sudden that zero or that, you know, whatever number in the bank account jumps up. And all of a sudden, you know, their back's not against the wall and they start to let off the gas a little bit. That's what I see a lot of. And before you know it, they're in a lull. Maybe they deal with, you know, a chargeback that hits, and now it becomes a little bit of a mental game, a little bit of the mindset issue. So I think the strongest fundamentals are always going to come back to just the activity. Disconnect from the outcomes, look for a top producer, look at their schedule, and just copy what they're doing and focus on those inputs. Make sure you're getting the 20 to 30 presentations a week, depending on how much you're trying to actually close. Make sure you're hitting the dial markers. Just stick to the basics, stick to those commitments. And when you do that consistently, I'm still yet to see a very skilled individual who comes in and performs at a high level. If they stick to those basics, it always ends up working out. So,
dude, that's so good, bro. I mean, I think that's 100% right. They come on board and they have a couple big sales, and they don't realize, like, oh, there's fall off. You got to invest in leads. Like, they don't really get, and then when it happens, they start blaming, like, well, this isn't as good as I thought. No, you weren't as consistent as you needed to be for it to be as good as you thought. And I think that's a big deal. Like, I don't know about you guys, but roller coasters, like, that's great at an amusement park. But when you're riding it emotionally or in business, man, it sucks. And that doom loop thing is a real deal. Right, you all of a sudden don't put in the same inputs, and then you have a fall off, a chargeback, and now what's shifted is your mindset. And so maybe for somebody on here, it's like you weren't consistent. You kind of like thought, hey, this is so great. Look, I made 2-3 sales. You didn't understand, like, a part of the business is that you're going to have a fall off. It's kind of like if Walmart just, like, didn't build in the fact that there's going to be people that steal Snickers. Like, dude, that's going to happen. Well, if you don't expect that it's going to happen and you put it all back in, or you go waste it or blow it, and then that happens, and now you're in a, it's like, dude, you had the wrong expectation. Like, dude, not everybody's honest like you are, and they're all not going to just check out with pain. Like, it's a part of the process. And so just understanding the business really well, I think, is essential. Joe, what about for you? Like, what are some of the fundamentals that make a big difference for you? And I guess I think maybe a better question is, like, what are some of the disciplines that you just don't waver on, that you know that if you did waver, it would probably be detrimental, and that because you don't, it really helps stack the deck for success continuously?
I'm glad you asked that question, considering the leveled up life sign out there. And that's something I think that we, preach a lot within our groups, is building the person, not just building the agent. And when you do that, the sales, the results will come, but what are they doing in their life outside of work to improve physically, spiritually, mentally, financially, ultimately as well. So for me, it starts in the morning. So when the alarm goes off, don't hit snooze, get out of bed, just tell yourself feet on the floor, turn on the light, you're good to go.
Yeah, but dude, how do you do that? Because like, that's easier said than done. Everybody that hits snooze the night before, they're like, I'm not going to hit snooze, and they hit snooze. Like, have you ever found anything that helps you with that?
Yeah, I think at first you're not going to be able to expect yourself to just get out of bed, because inherently, like, humans, we're looking for comfort.
Yeah.
And that's very uncomfortable, especially when we live in Chicago and Michigan and it's cold.
And it's warm underneath your blanket.
Yeah, you want to stay in there. So I think if you have an accountability partner, so especially like if you're going to a specific spot in the morning, whether it's the office, the gym, maybe you're meeting somewhere for coffee, whatever, if you're supposed to be there at a certain time and you structure your morning to where you have to get up at that time in order to get there, and prepare yourself to do that, then you're not just letting yourself down, you're letting them down. And also something that I've told agents that resonates with them is setting an appointment with their future self, because it's very easy to let down yourself now because there's not a whole lot at stake. But how is the person, your future version of yourself going to look at you now, knowing all the things that you would know at that point?
That's brilliant, bro. I love that. Very, very well said. And I love, like, giving yourself something where you have something to look forward to the next morning and you have something to go to, right? Like, kind of having that. I feel like everybody inherently wants to be consistent with the idea of being the best version of themselves. Like, they want that to be in a line. But a lot of times, like, if I say, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, Chris, can you meet me at the gym tomorrow at 5 a.m.? And you're like, yes. Now, when I'm getting ready to wake up, I don't want to be inconsistent with how Chris sees me and how he views me, right? And so I'm more inclined to do it. And so it's really kind of like playing this game, I think, of like, how can you intentionally like stack the deck for you to do the thing you need to do to get to the place that you want to get to.
And to that point, it's very translatable, whether you have an accountability partner, for the gym or something else. Translate it to this business. All right, new agent comes in. We all know how important tracking numbers are for them. So if you have a new agent tracking their numbers, they're tracking their dials, presentations, people talk to, etc. If they set up an accountability partner to do the same, they're going to be a lot more likely to keep track of their numbers, and then you have a little friendly competition, which is always beneficial. So
100%.
That's how we can translate it into this space.
Chris, how do you do that with, like, in the office? Like, how do you help connect people to create that kind of accountability? Because maybe somebody's like, well, I don't have anybody. I'm just kind of like my individual person that got recruited. I don't have any kind of relationships, no accountability partners. Like, do you help cultivate that? And if so, how do you do that?
Yeah, we certainly want to make sure everybody has somebody they can relate to. I think one big piece is the morning meetings. We try to get pretty much everybody involved in those morning meetings, and ultimately that cultivates those relationships, giving people roles, as we mentioned earlier, making everybody feel as if they're a top performer, because you have to be that top performer before the results show that you're a top performer. So for most people, they're pretty good at finding somebody, but if they're coming in absolutely stag, then we'll set them up, get them involved in those morning meetings, and just really get them in that routine of the accountability, sharing their numbers, whether that's pre-shift calls in the morning before we get started, get your mind right, or end of day reports where we talk for a few moments just to make sure all the numbers are in a row, everything's in line, and so everybody feels connected as well. I think that's a big piece of this business, is understanding that we are all doing pretty much the same thing. We're all going through the pain points. We're getting the rejection together. And we know that if we're consistent, we're all going to have the results as well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, watching you guys come to the office, you've got a couple of your big hitters that have come in. It just seems like a very unified team. Like, you guys, like, all look like you're cut from the same cloth, right? Like, you guys have the same kind of, you have the same personalities by any means, but like, you have kind of like these same kind of chief desires of like, I want to hit the next level in every area of my life. Like, you guys all walked in shape. Like, it almost seems like you guys kind of do life together. Is that fair to say? Like, you guys don't just come to the office, but you also like work out together. There's accountability outside the office. Like, can you talk to that? Like, how have you cultivated that, and has it been important for you guys?
Yeah, I think you hit it spot on. And I think that's a big reason we've been attracted to each other, right? Where proximity's power, but we align on that level where you said it spot on. We're trying to progress in every aspect of life. We want to be spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, whatever it is. We want to see that progress. I know personally when I feel some regression in my life in a certain aspect, and I'm sure Joe feels a similar way, that hits the core. You never want to move backwards, whether it's in whatever aspect. So I think that's just a big piece of why we are all here. That's, I think, a piece of why we're, radiating to you as well, because you live with that sort of progress first mindset where you're trying to be the best version of you.
Yeah.
And ways that we hold that accountability outside of the office. What's cool is we all have that innately in us, and then doing, whether it's group chats, I know there's the Snapchat channels where we'll just post what we do, like the hard stuff daily, kind of a check-in. A common one is, posting the time you wake up. Similar idea where you don't want to be the person that's either not posting or posting the latest time every day. Or you don't want to be the guy that's not posting their workout or, doing the hard stuff. So little things like that, again, stacking the deck in favor of kind of playing that game and making sure that we're holding each other accountable.
Dude, I love that. I mean, that's such a big tip for anybody that's on here. Even if you've got one person that you brought on the team, like, how do you bring out the best in that person, right? And then, by the way, a lot of times when you have a person, when you recruit your first person on the team, typically the best version of you shows up because you got them watching you, right? It's kind of like, I was doing a bunch of stupid stuff, and then my girlfriend, now wife, got pregnant with my oldest, and I was like, shoot, like she's gonna be watching me. Like, I got to stop doing all these things, right? Like, that's when I got out of my first sales gig. I was like, I got to hang that up, man. I got to go into one that's legal. And it's been 18 years, so statute of limitations is ran out, so I'm clear to say it. But it made a difference, dude. Like, I just started thinking, like, dude, she's watching me. And you want that, right? Because, like, we're all humans, and by nature, like, it's easy to fall back into doing the lower level version of you, like the easier, the thing that feels easy. So you want to create that environment where, like, you have people looking, and it's good, positive peer pressure, right? And I love that. Even the text message. So just for anybody that's, like, taking notes, like, set up a message and then post, like, when you wake up. And if you get 3 people, it's even better, because you don't want to be the last one. Now you want people fighting to wake up earlier. And then what do they do when they wake up, right? And then you post that first discipline you do, whether that's quiet time, prayer, reading the word, going to the gym, whatever it is. And you start to make the higher level disciplines more normal. And then you're going to watch their confidence grow. Like, there's nobody that doesn't see physical fitness progression take place that's not more confident. There's not somebody that becomes more full of faith and, like, believes that, hey, they can get through anything and God is with them, that they're not more confident. And so now what does that translate into? Like, on the phones. Now when they make a phone call, they're more confident, right? Why? Because they've seen progression in every other area. And so that's such a powerful thing, man, that you guys have done. And I think it is like the bedrock of what's allowing so much great growth, is because people are seeing growth in other areas, right? Talk about the morning meeting. Like, what does that look like, for you guys? Like, what are some of the things that you do for someone that's on here that's like, man, I want to create a great, thing in my schedule where we can all get together. I want my team to be excited. Like, how do you guys run that?
So if anybody listening wants to tune in and see, like, how we do that, Room 3 Discord, every single day we're in there, except Sunday. But
what time does it start at?
9:15 Eastern.
Okay.
So a little early over here, but I know you're up.
Oh, bro, we ain't messing around over here, dude. It's like lunchtime by 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. So 9:15 we're in there, but what we like to do is we have a leaderboard, and we got this from Claudia and Jonah, so that's really helped the friendly competition. So sales go in the leaderboard, so you'll have that pull up. We'll go over the top 10 from the previous day, and then on Monday we'll go over the week. Actually, 10 from the entire week, depending on what day it is. And then once we do that, we do, like, drink club. So anybody who had first sale, last sale, or multifamily. So if anyone's issued over 20K, they've got to sell 3 separate families to qualify. We had to up it because we had too many drinks going out. And then a newer agent, 20K or less, too, for them. They get the drink. So we'll go over that. And then
they get the what?
Just like a beverage.
Oh, okay.
Of their choice.
Okay, got it.
That JP stocks up for
Okay,
us.
nice.
Yeah. And then once we do that, we like to highlight specific agents. So we'll usually call up one or two, and typically individuals who've been killing it in a specific area, whether, maybe they're part-time in college, or they just switched over from another job, or they're just really, hitting the phones hard and they're seeing a lot of results. So we really like to spotlight them, edify to your point, and give them their flowers there, hopefully to inspire other people who can resonate with their story to help them grow. And then once we do that, we'll get somebody to come in and break us down. Some are super hype. We've got some hype guys for sure, and then we've got a few.
I've been there, dude. I was fired up, bro.
Yeah.
It was at the end of the lock-in in Orlando.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I wanted to go do something after that, like
Run through a wall.
Yeah. I was ready to roll, bro. It was great.
They get you ready to hit the phones.
But dude, that's such great leadership, man. Like you've identified that, because, I mean, the goal is to help people be included in every area. Give them a role that they can do, a part of the overall team that's going after this common mission, right? And so even understanding, like, man, this guy, I think this is a hype guy. And by the way, dude, that's a great gift that everybody benefits from. Like, dude, I was way more locked in than I've ever been, because I need to find a hype guy around here. You know what I mean? Now that I think about it, because I didn't even think about it, but now I'm thinking about it. But like, I was there, and it benefited me. It benefits everybody. And so being able to identify, dude, this guy's a hype guy. Hey, can you hype up the team? Dude, you think he's sleeping in and missing the meeting? No, of course not, dude. Like, he's locked in. He's excited. It helps like spotlight him as far as an integral part of the team, because he's the hype guy. And I think that's just important for everybody. It's good for him. It's good for the team. We all have different gifts, right? And I think as a leader, the goal is to identify each person's gift and then spotlight it and highlight it and allow that to be something that benefits the overall organization, because everybody's got different strengths, everybody got different weaknesses. But if you're trying to be all things to all people, you're missing it, because you're probably not the best hype guy and the best motivational speaker and the best producer and there's different people that have different qualities that will help the team. And so I love that. I mean, it's powerful. Chris, for anybody that's watching this morning and they're like, man, I feel like I'm kind of doing what I need to do. Like, I feel like I'm following the blueprint, but I'm not yet seeing the results I want to see. Or like, I feel like I'm doing the thing, but my results doesn't show like it's actually working. How would you communicate? What message would you tell them to kind of help them, have the right perspective, mindset moving forward?
If it was one of my agents, the first thing I would do is just kind of audit, the activity. Let's look at it. Let's see what you're actually doing. We're all obviously grinding, but I'm a firm believer in there are always more things we can do. You can work the 8 to 10 to 12 hour day, but are you reflecting after the day? Are you looking at your notes and saying, hey, I could have improved here, here, and here, or maybe I'm losing them here, here, and here. I think those types of practices are sometimes more important than the reps, because what I see is oftentimes agents get so obsessed with the inputs, which is great, that's what we want, but then they start doing these empty reps where it's kind of, hey, you're practicing, a pitch that's not that great yet. And so getting a refresher, getting some reflection in, some one-on-one time. But ultimately, I would suggest a couple different practices between recording yourself. As a manager, I like to get one recording from my directs so that I can listen to it on my time, because sometimes one-on-one time during the day is tougher. That is so telling. I think recording yourself, even just listening to that, is one of the most powerful things you can do in sales. It helped me dramatically, just learning how to gauge your voice, just being in control, being that puppet master, knowing how to sound sincere, knowing how much energy to put out. Those things are so fundamentally powerful, but ultimately it's, hey, let's audit it. Let's see where we can do a little bit more, and let's make sure we're keeping our mindset strong, because it's different for everybody. Colin Mothersole, for example, 3 months into the business, no sales. End of that year, rookie of the year. So you gotta make sure you keep the mindset strong, because you don't want to lose the mindset game before you grasp the skill set. It's one of the biggest shames that we see in sales is you didn't give it enough time, and then you fall out because it was a mindset issue before that skill set showed up. So stay persistent, keep the mentality strong, do the things outside of work to keep that positive mindset, keep your confidence high, and then just have faith in the systems. The success is all around, and stay persistent and apply any one or two of these extra practices to keep improving faster.
Dude, that's so good. I mean, a couple takeaways I want to point to. One, from a leadership standpoint, but also from the producer standpoint. From the producer standpoint, if you've come to this conclusion of like, I'm doing everything I need to do and it's not working, you've already bought into justification, because the pain of not having the progress is stealing the purpose that will be produced if you actually keep your mind open and figure out what is it, that there's something there, right? Like for me as a producer, if I got done with the sale or sales call and I didn't close it, I was always like, I could have done something different. And I would think like, what would that person do? And it was always a top producer. And I'd always convince myself like they could close anything. Like, what would they do? And that shift changed everything, because the truth is, man, like if I walk in a house and the guy's wasted and he's like, get out of my house, you idiot, and I don't sell it, like I could easily justify and say maybe, because you can't do something with every situation, but you could always act like you could so you can get better, right? So now every experience, there's a learning in it, right? Even if it couldn't have led to a sale, you're going to get better for the next one that it might have made the difference. But really having this mindset of like, if you're not getting the result, there's something there. It's not like, oh, it is what it is. Like, I'm doing it. No. Like, there's something there. And then I think the second part, from a leadership standpoint, is like, Chris, they can't convince you that they're doing all the right things and not getting the result. Like, you won't buy it. And that's now you'll hear it, but you won't buy it. And that's the same thing as a producer. The best producers, they hear the objection, they hear the issue, they hear the complaint, they hear the, I just can't afford it, but they can't buy it. Because if they hear they can't afford it, what they're thinking is, you can't afford not to get it. Because if it's tight now, what the heck does it look like when you die? And now there's a financial responsibility, and now there's an expense, and now there's a burden, and now there's a loss of income. So you might hear it, but the producers that are not at the level they could be, it's because they let the client sell them on that objection. And they're like, well, you don't understand, man. Like, I went through their budget, and they only have $42 extra a month. It's like, well, dude, what's more important? Like, the 6-pack of beer? Like there's something, like, you can never convince me that there's not a way to get a plan that's not the most important thing. And I think it's the same thing you're talking about as a producer. Like, they can't convince you because you've seen too many people like a Colin that have shifted and changed, and you know that it's either a mindset or it's a mechanical thing. Both could be fixed, but you're not winning on both of those areas, or the result would be there. So I absolutely love that. Joe, same thing for you, dude. If somebody's like stuck, what's something that you'd give them as far as maybe it's a discipline, a decision that they can do to kind of help get unstuck from where they're at?
To Chris's point, I think that's the first step, is audit their time, audit their schedule, make sure that they're really putting in the inputs that they're claiming to, because that can be an easy fix. If you're showing up at 8 o'clock but you're not actually working until 9 o'clock and other parts throughout the day, then we just have to be more intentional. But for somebody who is really doing what they can for the most part from an effort standpoint, and they're not quite seeing the results, in my personal experience, it's either they're overcomplicating it or they're not building a genuine connection with the person on the other end of the phone. So a perception a lot of newer agents can break through with is they're buying you, and you have to build a genuine connection with them. They have to feel your energy, they have to feel your passion, and really come to like you, because they're not going to buy from somebody that they don't like. And at the same time, you have to do a really good job of educating them. And all you're doing is, to your analogy at the lock-in, being a doctor, you're coming in, you're asking intentional questions, timely questions, and you're diagnosing their situation. And from there, you're using that as ammo. You're stockpiling all of that, and then that's really how you're able to understand what's going to be best for them, because there's no sense in coming in and telling them what is going to be best for them. You have to dig deep and really find out. So if somebody is coming in with the energy, they already have the inputs, of course, and they're asking those very intentional questions, the last step is really just focusing on building a genuine connection with the person on the other end of the phone.
That's so good, man. That could be a whole podcast that we can unpack. Just what you said, man. I mean, that was so well said. It's too often we're the person, and it's easy to do because, like, I mean, the truth is, like, Chris, you're saying the team's going to do like over close to $2 million, right? I mean, you guys are getting close there. Joe, you guys are over $1 million in issue paid. So when you look at that, it's like you kind of know most of the time what the problem is. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just like when you're sitting with a client and you're looking at a policy and they're paying $200 a month, and you can get them a plan that's going to give them $10,000 more in coverage for the same exact premium. Like, you're like, this is a no-brainer. Dude, my most frustrating sales was when I overstepped the process of asking the questions. I didn't have the human connection, and then they get to the end and they're like, I want to think about it, and you're like, what? like you're gonna get 10,000, and I would realize, like, oh, I just assumed like I could overstep everything because, like, it's a no-brainer. And I think it's easy to do that as a leader. You just know, so you tell them the answer. But the art of coaching is getting them to identify the answer, because now they're going to hold on to it. Well, how do you do that? You ask the questions. Like you said, Joe, you identify this is the picture, and then you show it back to them, ask them a question, and then they're able to identify, oh, this is the issue. And so now they've come to the conclusion, and now you're getting them to be able to go through the process of saying, here's the problem. I've just now walked you through how to find the solution. So it's actually gearing them up and teeing them up, so the next conversation you have, maybe you don't even have to have it. Maybe they just kind of identify it themselves because you've walked them through that. It takes a little bit more time, right? Just like in the sales process, I just, no-brainer. So, like, this is what it is. I'm going to save 12 minutes. No, you just lost the sale trying to save 12 minutes. You still need to build a why. And I think that's so important. And just in our interactions of watching you guys work with the team, and I was in Chicago watching you guys work, there's no question that you guys are authentic and you really want to help and you care about your people. And so, like, that is the foundation that all this is built upon. Like, you have to have a true authenticity of, like, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's going to come from love because I really want the best for you. And if you don't have that right, you got to get that right first, or you're never going to be able to lead people, because it's going to be about how do I get production from this person, opposed to how do I help this person to develop into the right kind of person that can be the producer that's going to serve their family. And I just think it's such an important shift that you can make, right? All right, as we wrap up, Chris, what's a time in the business, if you're looking back, like, how long you been with Pinnacle for now?
Been with Pinnacle since it started. So
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Okay, so in the last 24 months, what's a time where you like saw a massive breakthrough in your business, where, like, maybe you doubled, like it was great explosive growth? Because I think that there's not, like, people have seasons of growth, right? They'll have progression, but there's a couple times in business, I think it's just in any area of your life, where you're like, that was a breakthrough moment, right? Like, that was a moment where just, like, boom, it just happened, right? Like, I got to a whole different level. What was that for you in the last 24 months? What was your big breakthrough moment?
Looking at the team, I think about this time last year, we really started to build a lot of momentum. That's where I feel like there was a couple things that we started to implement, and it started with the leaders. We've definitely got the most talented group of leaders, and I think it really went back to basics, just like a producer would. We went back to basics and said, hey, what are the fundamentals we want to focus on as an organization to build this thing, to grow, to scale, to get that momentum going? And that's when we really started to implement the accountability. daily, not once a month or once a week. It's hey, we're holding each other accountable every single day. In the manager meetings, making sure we're all aligning on the same vision, the same goals, and then also setting up systems for agents coming in, thresholds, things like that, where we were so congruent in the fact that we're raising the bar. We're going to do this. We control what we control in this business, and we know that if we bring those inputs as leaders, this thing is, we have full faith in the system. This thing is going to take off. It's going to continue to grow, and it's going to do that even faster. Because one thing I'm sure of is we don't know what we don't know. Even on the momentum side, I think oftentimes we underestimate the power of momentum. It's such a compounding effect. So if we just bring our inputs and keep increasing that linearly, doing the accountability, all these things, all these little building blocks, all these different bricks, and then the momentum factor comes in as well, that's when you see that hyper growth. And that's when I noticed things really started to shift in that almost powder keg moment where it was like, hey, we went from like a slanted trajectory to a couple more degrees up.
I love that, man. I think momentum is like, dude, it makes you look better than you actually are when you have it, and it makes you look worse than you actually are when you don't have it. And once you have it, man, like you don't want to lose it because it's so much harder to get it back. And I think what you said, Chris, was really important, because when momentum started to really catch on, and you're like, dude, everything's just kind of flowing, and like, man, it's just happening. And it's kind of like when you're watching a basketball game and they've got momentum. They're not missing. They're getting rebounds. They go on a 25-point run. It's like, dude, what's going on? It's the momentum, right? But oftentimes once you have the momentum and you get kind of a lead, it's easy to screw it up. Once you have it, it's really easy to keep, because the other team is like thinking like, dude, what in the heck's going on? They're discouraged. But you all of a sudden take a step off because like it's going better than you thought, and it's easier to get to the place that you want to get to than it was before. So maybe what used to take way more effort, way more energy, way more investment, it's happening way faster. So you kind of, and then all of a sudden you lose it. You got to double down when you've got momentum. And that's what you did. You're like, okay, we've got momentum. Let's now put some standards in place. Let's put these inputs in place, so that way we don't lose it, man. We just take advantage of it. Like we actually capitalize on it. And I think it's just a warning sign for everybody, man. If you've got momentum, like do what you can. Like what's the next best move to solidify it, to help grow it? And if you don't have momentum, man, just keep charging. Because in a lot of times you watch a basketball game, then all of a sudden it shifts and the other team's got a 20. Like it can shift quicker than you think. And I think oftentimes the longer it's taken to experience that breakthrough, the more discouraged we are, and we believe it's less likely to happen. But that's typically when you're the closest to receiving it. You just can't get worried and doing well. You got to keep pushing, right? And so I love that. Last question. We got bells ringing. Let's go, man.
Let's go.
One more close is done. So, Joe, if I bump into you at a conference, right, you just get off stage, you're talking about how to make 7 figures in a year, and I'm like, dude, like, give me one tip that will help me take my personal production to the next level. What would you say?
I wouldn't even make it sales related. I would get in larger rooms around people that you aspire to be like and ask them a ton of questions. And then take one thing from each interaction that you can really hone in on and apply, whether it's inside or outside of your business with your personal life and overall growth, and really just hone in on one thing at a time. That way you can make those your strengths, or at least shore up your weaknesses.
I love that, man. Well, this is how I'd put it as wrap up. It's kind of like you read that book. Man, it's been a while since I read it, but I've read it like 18 times. Think and Grow Rich. It talks about like getting this burning desire, right? And I think a lot of times the right person, when they come into this space, they join your guys' team, they join Pinnacle, man, they got a burning desire. They're like, I think I've got a shot, right? Like this could be the shot I've been praying for, I've been hoping for, to go out and change my life and transform everything. And so the second part of that, because a lot of people have a desire to get financially free. They've got a desire to be in a better position in their life. And most people are similar with those desires. And you got to go back and look at your why and why you're doing it in the first place, all that. But the second part is like, what's the plan? Like, what's the blueprint? Like, you got to have a good plan of action, and then you got to persevere once you've got it. most businesses, dude, like, and when people are starting out in business, they have the desire to go grow a massive business, but they don't have like a bulletproof plan. They're just hoping that it's going to work, right? Here, you got a bulletproof plan. Like what you guys just talked about, like that's a part of the strategy. And you've got so many people, to your point, Joe, that want to serve you, that want to help you, that want to pour into you. I mean, that's why we do this podcast, right? It's not like, YouTube's sending us a check, right? Like this is to get some great value to you from people that are doing what you're doing. And so all you got to sit back and do is be coachable. Like actually go out there and execute within that. The plan is before you. So what is it? What's the issue? The issue would just be if you don't persevere, if you give up too soon on that plan, if you don't continue to get around a mastermind group of people where you could associate and you could ask questions and you could get feedback and you can make the right responses. And so, I mean, I feel like today the blueprint was laid out for many people, not just mechanically, but also mindset, mentally, to go out there and take your business to the next level. So, guys, thank you for joining. This has been good for me. I hope it's been good for you. I know it has been. And if it has, share this with somebody on your team, right? There might be somebody on your team that this podcast will help impact them and make a difference this week. So this week could be better than last week. So, guys, we love you. Make it a great week. Stay strong. Be steadfast. And we'll talk to you next week. God bless you guys.